Stand yesterday, witness today, and touch tomorrow. We're proud to announce that more than $1.2 million was raised during TCI's recent campaign for education, sending more than 400 teachers to the J.C. Sparkman Center for Educational Technology and providing much-needed funds to schools across the nation. It's the way they learn, the way we work together for the future.
This is CNN.
Now, live from Washington, Capitol Gang Sunday.
Good evening and welcome to the special first anniversary edition of Capitol Gang Sunday. I'm Jim Glassman with Juan Williams of the Washington Post, syndicated columnist Mona Charen, who's back after having her beautiful baby, Jim Warren of the Chicago Tribune, and Howard Fineman of Newsweek. For a fourth day, Israel continues its attack on suspected Hezbollah bases in Lebanon. Israel launched the campaign after guerrillas fired more rockets at northern Israel.
There's been a deliberate policy by Hezbollah and by Iran, that is the power behind and beyond Hezbollah, to shoot freely at will into Israel in order to provoke, in order to bring damage about. And before this is brought to an end, we will not cease our pressure on Hezbollah and on the government of Lebanon.
Part of this country is occupied, that these people are resisting occupation, which is acceptable in all international norms, and that we are asking the resistors to stop resisting instead of the occupier to get out.
The White House has blamed provocative actions by the pro-Iranian Hezbollah for the fighting, which has so far killed 20 people in Lebanon and sent hundreds of thousands of civilians fleeing. The attacks also come on the eve of Israeli elections, which are to be held on May 29th. Howard, do these latest attacks sound the death knell for the peace process in the Middle East?
Well, I don't think peace is dead in the Middle East, but it is in remission, which is actually where it's been for much of the last 3,000 years. You know, everything looks so dramatic on television, but things on the ground are never quite as dramatic or as conclusive as they seem. There's a lot of politics going on here. Shimon Peres is desperately trying to save his image in Israel to win re-election next month. The rocket attacks were serious, but not in and of themselves the kind of thing that would destroy the Israeli state by any means. He's taking a big risk, though, Peres is, because he could widen the war. You have the Hezbollah in Lebanon, but then don't forget, you've got Hamas and you've got others in the south who have been running those boss bombing attacks, and they've pledged to do the same. The other guy with a lot at stake here is Bill Clinton. He's leaving tonight to proclaim himself as the peacemaker in the world. He's got a lot at stake in keeping things
Where's he
calm.
going there?
Well, he's going to Japan. He's going all the way around the world to Russia and back. But he's going to be selling himself as the great peacemaker. It's going to be hard to do if there's another war in the Holy Land.
Yeah. Do you think, though, there's an implication here, what Howard said, this is maybe somewhat cynical on the part of Peres? In other words, is he doing this only for political reasons?
I mean, the answer is I don't know. I suspect not. I mean, you know, a little background, unless I'm mistaken, and we've had fighting via an unwritten deal which was brokered by the U.S. up to now has been sort of relegated to certain areas and to just military targets in southern Lebanon, and now that's obviously gone out the window. I mean, Howard's right. The peace process has at least been stalled. Clinton, starting, I think, in fact, in South Korea, that's where he's going to be tomorrow night talking to the leader there, has some pretty notable foreign policy achievements. It would seem the Dayton talks, which led to, you know, agreements on Bosnia and then also Mideast peace process.
Well,
but now, if that becomes unraveled, that could have, you know, substantial domestic implications here. But again, there's also a possibility that there's a perverse dynamic here and a crisis leads to progress in a perverse way.
It may lead to progress within Israel itself. It may solidify the peace process within Israel. You ever think of that?
No.
Well, I think it's quite possible.
What I see is, in fact, that the peace process in Israel unravels intentionally because of Hezbollah's action. They wanted the peace process to unravel. They wanted to weaken Peres and to force him into a more radical and aggressive military stance in some ways, to really take away the idea that there was any partnership for peace possible. And I think it's forced the United States and Bill Clinton into a posture where they no longer attempt to be the balanced intermediary in negotiations, that they now have to take Israel's side. And so politically, coming back to Howard's point, politically in the United States in terms of Clinton's dealings with the Jewish community here, he no longer can say, I'm the peacemaker. He has to say, I'm a friend of Israel.
Mona, welcome back after
Thank you.
6
Thank you.
weeks.
Glad to be here.
What about that? I mean, the U.S. has taken Israel's side in this. It appears, anyway. There may be another statement coming
Right.
out. But,
hoping to preserve the labor government of Perez, which was foundering after all of those bus bombings in the state of Israel. The country had moved from a sort of cautious pro-peace process stance after Rabin's assassination to a concern about security. This is Perez's attempt to say, I can be just as tough as the Likud government. I'm going to go after Hezbollah in Lebanon, though he really can't go after Hamas, which is a problem much closer to home, within Israel, and who are soul brothers of Hezbollah and are just as vehemently against Israel's security.
Having interpreted this in terms of politics from the Israeli side, look at it from the other side, too. Don't forget, the people firing the Katyusha rockets down into Kiryat Shimona in northern Israel are controlled by Iran and by Syria.
Yeah.
These are not Lebanese. They are not free actors in and of themselves. So as Juan says, the other side is trying to radicalize the situation in, I think, a cynical game to try to get Bibi Netanyahu, the conservative, elected as the next head of the Israeli government and radicalize the situation all over. The other guy who's been put in the middle is Yasser Arafat. He's been forced to say that he condemns the Israeli air raids and so on, and then now the blockading of Lebanon and so forth. So it's radicalizing the whole situation.
Okay.
I also noticed in the recent party elections in Israel, one of the big winners on the Likud side was a blast from the past, so to speak, Ariel Sharon, who ironically was the key player back in, '82. This is the last time we had a flare-up like this when they actually went into
He led the
Lebanon.
army into Lebanon.
Okay, but the last thing here is the recent reports from Israeli intelligence that suddenly you may see Hezbollah taking targets abroad, using the Iranian infrastructure to go after. Now, I don't know if that's the ploy in order just to say to the U.S., hey, you guys are being threatened too, just as Israel. But the impact it has is to clearly say the United States is on Israel's side in the same problem and same boat.
Good. We're going to talk about terrorism in the United States when we get back on the eve of the Oklahoma City bombing anniversary. We'll be right back.
What if I get transferred to another city? What if I need to lose some weight? What if I need an x-ray?
What if I need a new doctor? What if my baby comes early?
What if I need blood?
What if I break my arm?
What if there were a healthcare organization with such innovative solutions to what you might need tomorrow, that all you'd have to do is enjoy today?
What if my brother makes me a bug?
What if you didn't have to worry about healthcare? Blue Cross, Blue Shield.
Don't make things like they used to. Whatever happened to quality?
In my day, we cared about craftsmanship.
How about service?
Dave Lennox founded his heating and cooling company and what was important to customers.
Those things will never go out of style. Trust me.
And the Lennox Quality Dealer Standards make sure you'll get those things from Lennox dealers today.
Of course, you know what I really miss? Those little licorice drops you used to sell.
Lennox, one less thing to worry about.
Don't forget, Gracie, this one is a par 5.
Oh, dear, I better give it all I've got.
O'Doul's Scratch Golf. Win any of 21,000 prizes instantly in 12-pack cans of O'Doul's.
I want a tailor-made burner bubble.
Yeah?
Yeah, you need it. You drive like an old lady. Thanks.
Hey, I really spanked that one.
Welcome back. April 19th, which is this Friday, is a dangerous date in America. It marks the anniversaries of the Oklahoma City bombing, which killed 168 people, and the Waco, Texas inferno. Meanwhile, at the Freemen compound in Montana, the 21-day standoff continues between armed anti-government militants and the FBI. And federal agents sifting through the cabin of Theodore Kaczynski may have uncovered a draft of the manifesto published in newspapers last year. One more piece of evidence linking Kaczynski to the bombings, which killed 3. Congress will attempt to pass an anti-terrorism bill before the end of the week. Some are pointing fingers of blame for the delay, and others say that they're just trying to protect civil liberties.
It is truly sad that a year after Oklahoma City, Congress still hasn't passed an anti-terrorism bill. What's holding up the bill are the forces on the extremes, the extreme right and the extreme left, both of whom have more mistrust of the U.S. government than of Hamas, the Freemen, and other terrorist groups.
There is no need to expand government power in certain areas, such as wiretapping. We've been very careful to limit this bill so that that does not preclude its chances for passage on the floor.
So, Jim, is there anything the government can do or should do about terrorism?
It can do things, but I don't think it can have a whole lot of impact, probably because of the essence of terrorism, the randomness, unpredictability. I mean, just see what's played out the last years, nerve gas on subways, suicide bombers, guys sticking mail, bombs into mail. There's not much you can do. This terrorist...
Hold me.
We spend, this legislation would, I think, have allocated about $1 billion over 5 years and has provisions like make it easier to deport people. But remember, we really haven't had a whole lot of terrorism in this country, and I think in a weird way, terrorism ends up becoming kind of, I don't know, like a vessel for a whole bunch of free-floating anxieties we have about crime generally, including street crime. But we really haven't had many terrorist problems.
Are you, speaking of anxiety, are you worried about April 19th, this big anniversary?
I live in Washington, D.C., so yeah, I go in and out of these government buildings quite regularly. And already this week you can see people just, girding up. I think that there's a great sense of calamity at the door here and fear all over town. And I think that it's not only here, but in all sort of federal office buildings.
Justified?
Absolutely. I think April 19th has really come to be a high holy day for the terrorists in America, where let me just say the crazy right, if I don't offend Mona. And in fact, yeah.
I have something to say on that subject.
Okay, you can.
Which is, I really want to hear the outcry among the President of the United States, among the press, and everybody else about Kaczynski's ties to the radical left, the far left. Oh, by the way, those are expressions, radical left, far left, you never hear in the mainstream press. There's only the radical right and the far right, but there's no radical left. As a matter of fact, this guy was tied to groups like Earth First and other wacko environmentalist types who believe in terrorism for their cause, which is environmentalism.
You must have missed the manifesto in which he had all sorts of right-wing beliefs and big government.
Oh, you think he's a right-winger? Oh, come on, Ron. You can't escape this point.
Yeah, I think Mona has a point. I think some of the rhetoric attacking the alleged bombers in Oklahoma City was way over the line. I really do. And I think Bill Clinton is using the memory of the fear of that as he pushes this anti-terrorism bill. The fact is, even though the Congress hasn't passed the bill yet, the White House has done precious little to try to broker a deal with the Republicans. Actually, it's a good example of how things don't get done around here when you have a Republican Congress and,
but in a way, do you think the President doesn't want to get it done, or really doesn't mind?
I don't think he doesn't mind. This is symbolic of what's been wrong here for the last year or so. He doesn't care. He would rather have the issue than the bill, is my yet again cynical interpretation.
God has not created nor man conceived an issue that Bill Clinton will not use for political gain.
Jim.
But, Bill, what can you do on this subject? I mean, we're already spending like $60 billion a year in the private security field. I mean, the industry has doubled.
That's the point.
Well, we've already done one thing, in this town, and I think was terrible, closing off Pennsylvania Avenue, which would still wreak havoc here. It's a big mess. I mean, we can restrict people's civil liberties and their right to go back and forth.
That's my point. I'm not sure what you can do. Now, Bill Clinton has made a big statement about how he wants in his bill to prevent terrorists and would-be terrorists from raising funds in the United States. I believe this is the same president who let Jerry Adams in for a round of fundraisers. Now, what is the IRA if not a terrorist organization? So,
you once referred, Juan, to these militias as, what was it? It was crazy white guys.
You said they were typical white guys.
Angry white males, my friend.
In their natural state. That was it. In their natural state.
What about these militias? We have not heard much about militias themselves recently. I mean, do you think they're still a threat?
Of course they're still a threat. In fact, they're growing, and we've seen instances where the military has become more and more sensitized to the fact that people like the fellow in Oklahoma City there, Timothy McVeigh, the suspect, it was a military person, and we've seen military people come out and do racially motivated shootings, bias type attacks, skinhead type thing. That's growing in the country, and I think that people have to respond to it. I don't think, though, that necessarily empowering the FBI, giving them more authority, is the answer. I don't know how you go about it. FBI is growing by leaps and bounds, but as we can see in the Freeman situation right now, they're politically, hamstrung because everybody says, hey, you guys can't overdo it, or they'll say, hey, that's big government again.
And the Freemen are not, they're not conservative Republicans gone bad. I mean, these people believe they're part of this Christian identity
still hope
movement.
for them,
well, no, they're really, seriously,
They can be
they're part of
re-educated.
this Christian identity movement.
Wait a second, you don't want to blame the right wing,
beliefs,
but you're willing to blame Christians, is that right?
No. I'm sorry I say that. Which believes, among other things, that God created two races of people, one white Gentile males, and women, I suppose, and the other Jews who are the descendants of Satan. I mean, these people are truly wacky and dangerous.
Okay, well, on that cheery note, we will we'll move on. And another cheery story up next, the tragedy of the 7-year-old pilot. We'll be right back.
What's the easiest way to get out of a 4x4? Get into this instead. The Audi A6 Quattro. With Quattro all-wheel drive and all the comforts of a German luxury car, it's what more and more 4x4 owners are getting into and out of every day.
You flip a switch, and the light beams and the water streams, and the air cools, and the building warms, and the shivers cease, and the smiles come, and the miles go, and the steel rolls, and the rolls bake, and the pot boils, and the paint dries, and the laser cuts, and the patient heals.
For people, for the economy, for the planet, electricity, the power to make life better.
And the story is told, and the dreams unfold, and the monsters are kept at bay.
Well, my dad's my soccer coach, but his real job's at international paper. He says, just have fun, and don't worry about winning or losing. When I'm in a big game and I see him standing there, he just relaxes me. If you're trying, and you're trying hard, and you get hurt, don't think much about that. Think that you did your best, and that's all that matters.
International paper, celebrating the Olympic spirit and helping to pass the torch. Tonight on CNN Presents.
Most of the city is aware now of an explosion that has occurred just a few moments ago.
Oklahoma City. Unforgettable images of terror that have left an indelible mark on the town and its people. Now, a year after the bombing, victims and families talk about the fateful day that changed their lives forever. The inspirational stories of surviving and overcoming a legacy of terror. On the next CNN Presents, tonight, 9 Eastern.
Welcome back. 7-year-old Jessica Dubroff died earlier this week along with her father and flight instructor as she tried to become the youngest person to fly across the country. Since the tragedy, safety experts have learned the plane was overloaded. Forensic reports suggest the flight instructor was at the controls rather than the young girl at the time of the crash. Still, this incident has given rise to questions such as whether the FAA, as well as parents, should allow and encourage youngsters to fly.
Well, I think that, like many other things, there's a silver lining here, and the silver lining to the tragic loss of little Jessica and her father and the flight instructor is that the FAA is going to reassess the rules which would allow a child to be at the controls of an aircraft in airspace, and I think that's a very good thing for the FAA to be doing.
I beg of people to let children fly, God, if they want to fly. It's not about her age. Something was off. Clearly, Jessica either mischose or maybe it was lightning. I don't know what happened, but I know that Jess did her best.
So, what's the real story here?
Well, a word about this mother. I mean, yeah, I'm sure that she is genuinely a grieving mother and is just trying to find something out of this. Nevertheless, some of the things that she said were truly absurd. Like when she was asked how it felt, she said, "I don't feel I'm in a state of being." She said that she did everything so that this child could have freedom and choice. Well, okay, there's been a great outbreak of common sense. Everybody agrees now in the wake of this that children should not have choices like this, that adults have to have a role in life, like telling kids they can't do this. But here's the true story. Who encouraged this? Who enabled it? Who made it possible? The press. Good Morning America, The Today Show, ABC News, they were all following this as the plucky little girl who's going to fly from coast to coast. There was an ABC News camera in the back of this plane to record the whole wonderful thing when it was over. This was for the ego of the father, and they have a role, they had a responsibility.
I'm as willing as anybody in the media to don the hair shirt at all times. But that's like saying that, you know, all violence in the country is due to the existence of guns. The cameras, you know, didn't get into the cockpit on their own. They were invited in by these people.
Because they wanted to be on TV.
But,
well, whose fault is that?
Howard, it was interesting. I've read these.
We want to be on
I've read
TV.
these. Yeah. That's true. I read these transcripts, and it is really incredible. I mean, you read these transcripts with Farr Sawyer. I mean, almost all the coverage before she took the flight was just all this adoring stuff. Nobody asked her, by the way, you're only 7 years old. Maybe you'll crash your plane into somebody down on the ground. Forget about it. And the kid, you know, I mean, I worry about her and the people who are in the plane, but really there are other people whose lives that could be endangered here. Jim, sorry.
You know, I understand that Mona's been forcing this 6-week-old child of hers to go to the library at the Heritage Foundation every day. I want to turn him into a right-wing syndicated columnist. It's really an outrage. But, I mean, there's been a lot of quickie, you know, psychoanalysis here. I mean, probably there was something weird in the relationship between the dad and the daughter in this case. I mean, that's as far as I'll go. But, I mean, if you look around the country, just in the Chicago area, I mean, the anecdotal evidence of things being a little bit awry. I mean, last year you had a high school football coach who faked his own death to try to motivate the team to victory. You had the championship team, which won the academic decathlon, had it yanked away from them when it was found out that the coach had somehow stolen the results.
This is really working hard to get a Chicago angle.
And finally, in Evanston, where some of my bosses work, when it comes to grammar school sports, because of overzealous parents, they are no longer publishing results or even having playoffs. So, I mean, something is right. I mean, there's, on one hand, fine for, you know, to push the kids, but then, you know, where do you draw the line?
But that's a good point. But what about pushing kids? I mean, that's the other part of this story. The parents not only letting kids do whatever they want, but on the other hand, also pushing kids to achieve more and more. You know, they have all these special programs for kids in ballet and soccer and on.
And it goes on and on.
Do you think there's too much of that?
I think there's definitely too much of that. But we're a very competitive society. We're going more and more competitive. And in fact, in the society that we live in, if you don't get your kid on the right track now and get your kid into the right schools, given the poor state of public schools and all that, and give the kid a quick chance to establish himself, you really do get into a society where you're not going to be in the upper class. Now, let me get back to Mona for a second, if you don't mind. I thought she was going to attack, she couldn't attack motherhood, but so I thought she was going to go after feminists because this little girl had become a feminist icon. But instead, she goes after the press. But I got to say, I don't see how the press is responsible for this little girl. I think, in fact, the parents acted badly.
Of course the parents acted badly, but they did so. Look, the Guinness Book of World Records was wise enough a few years ago to say, we're not going to do these sorts of records anymore. It gives encouragement to the kind of stupid parents out there who would push little kids to do something dangerous. That was not the attitude taken by ABC and NBC and all the rest of them who were making a big fuss and saying, isn't this wonderful, youngest flyer?
You get the last word of this. Weren't you amazed that it's not against the law for a 7-year-old or 8-year-old to fly a plane?
It's permissive parenting run riot, and Bill Clinton, before he left for his world tour, should have gotten on the air and said, by executive order, I'm telling the FAA not to let anybody under 17 near the controls of an airplane, and every parent in America would have cheered.
But he wouldn't let a 7-year-old fly his plane to
Absolutely
Japan.
not.
Okay, and when we return, the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Shame. Who gets inducted and why?
Okay, if we just follow I'm sure
You're lost, aren't you?
We're lost.
Do you have any idea where we're going?
Yeah, we're right. It wasn't a highway, it was a ketchup stain.
Where are more and more people taking their rugged off-road vehicles these days?
This is looking real good. We're here.
The Audi A6 Quattro. With Quattro all-wheel drive and all the comforts of a German luxury car, it's where more and more 4x4 owners are heading every day.
The issue is accidents on the job. Liberty Mutual has built the largest workers' compensation insurer database in the world. Information that provides unique insights, helps reduce accidents for one Liberty customer by 73%. Workplace accidents, yours don't have to happen. Liberty Mutual, facing the issues that face our customers.
Don't forget, Gracie, this one is a par 5.
Oh, dear, I better give it all I've got.
O'Doul's Scratch Golf. Win any of 21,000 prizes instantly in 12-pack cans of O'Doul's.
I want a tailor-made burner bubble. Yeah? Yeah, you need it. You drive like an old lady. Thanks.
Hey, I really spanked that one.
They are among the most experienced journalists ever to cover the American political process. Over 30 correspondents and analysts in all, each with a unique role in covering the campaign for the presidency. Watch Judy Woodruff, Bernard Shaw, and Bill Schneider for the most complete coverage of Campaign 96 on Inside Politics, and Wolf Blitzer on Inside Politics Weekend. From here to Election Day, stay with CNN, your campaign headquarters. For a multimedia look at today's news, check out CNN Interactive on the World Wide Web at CNN.com. You can access our site through AT&T Business Network.
Time for the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Shame. After plea bargaining with the feds over petty thievery and facing 17 months in prison, former Congressman Dan Rostenkowski has become a pathetic whiner. He won't apologize. He says everybody does it. And now he has the nerve to accuse newcomers to Congress of wrecking the old collegiality. No, Congress ain't what it used to be, as Rosti himself proves. That's not all bad. One.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame, James Rouse. Rouse, who died this week at 81, created the shopping mall. He also built a new suburban community that included all income groups and races in Columbia, Maryland. In a second phase of his creative life, the developer coined the phrase urban renewal and put in place new projects that brought people and money back to the city, such as Harbor Place in Baltimore, South Street Seaport in New York, and Faneuil Hall in Boston. Rouse changed the American landscape and left a vision for the future. Jim?
12 days ago, a lovely 26-year-old woman who works for me was stabbed 9 times, nearly killed in an attempted rape. The cops here, overrun, undermanned, and cynical, have done so little, we've hired a private detective. Meanwhile, this city is hiring 25 inspectors to ticket citizens for unraked lawns and other garbage violations. Nice priorities. But speaking of trash, perhaps Mayor Marion Barry can parlay this sensitivity toward unraked leaves into future work as an editor at Better Homes and Gardens. Howard?
The phrase Washington Insider has become a put-down. We've all here helped make it one. But there are people who come here for nothing more or less than the love of history, justice, and the art of the deal. One is a 46-year-old Democratic lawyer named David Ifshin. He's lived the movements of the last quarter century, students' rights, anti-war, welfare rights at first, then the long battle to bring his party back to the center. He's very ill now, and I wish him well, and promise to use the term Washington Insider with more care and respect. Mona?
There's been a lot of hand-wringing this week about the way Washington, D.C. can politicize even a tragic death like Ron Brown's. But the first shot was fired by a member of the press who lives in New York, Bryant Gumbel. He told millions of Today Show viewers, falsely, that no Republicans had expressed condolences to the Brown family. The Today Show has apologized for the error. Gumbel has not.
And that's it for Capitol Gang Sunday. Join us again next week. And now, let's find out from Lynn Cheney what's coming up on Crossfire Sunday. Lynn?
Thanks, Jim. The tax man cometh. On this day before the tax deadline, Republicans are trying to resurrect the tax issue against the Democrats. But will this old dog hunt again? Next, in the Crossfire.
Tonight, for those who survived the Oklahoma City bombing, the struggle to recover has been both difficult and inspiring. Meet them on the next CNN Presents tonight.
Introducing the Instant Flower Garden. It comes to you rolled up like a carpet, a giant 12 feet long. Just roll it out and water it. All the seeds and nutrients are in there. Many different varieties that keep on blooming for months. The Instant Flower Garden is now only $19.95. But call now and get these special flower shears that cut, strip, crush, and even saw absolutely free. So order yours now.
You want to come take a look at this?
Just 7 digits. Gluttony, sloth. We can expect 5 more of these.
2 homicide detectives are on the bloody trail of a serial murderer who chooses his victims by the 7 deadly sins.
He's 2 murders away from completing his masterpiece.
Let's finish it. Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Gwyneth Paltrow.
You ever seen anything like this? No.
7. Order it this month on TCI pay-per-view.
Weeknights, Bill and Bob shake things up in Washington. Crossfire on CNN.
Don't forget about who engineered and passed and helped pass and signed the biggest tax increase in American history, $265 billion tax increase given to you courtesy of Bill Clinton.
As many Americans rush to finish their taxes, Congress plans to tackle the taxing issue Monday. Which party will really lower your taxes? And which presidential candidate?
From Washington, Crossfire Sunday. On the left, Bob Beckel. On the right, Lynn Cheney. In the Crossfire, Grover Norquist, President of Americans for Tax Reform, and Robert Shapiro with the Progressive Policy Institute.
Good evening and welcome to Crossfire Sunday. If you're like most Americans, you're probably struggling right now to finish your 1995 tax returns. And if you're like most Americans, you think you're paying the government too much. A recent CNN USA Today poll showed that 64% of those surveyed thought their taxes were too high. Only 33% thought they were just right. Republicans in the House say they have a solution to what so many citizens consider an unfair tax burden. A constitutional amendment that will require a 2/3 majority of both houses for a tax increase. No longer, say Republicans, will it be possible for the government to take more of your money if only a bare majority of representatives and senators support the idea. The proposed amendment has broad popular support, but some critics, too, mostly on the left. According to the critics, the amendment is unworkable, undemocratic, and just one more instance of Republicans grandstanding for political gain. Who's right here? And who's wrong? My colleague Bob Beckel, who, lucky for all the Republicans in the world, is losing his voice, and I will be discussing this tonight with our guest, Bob.
Well, not enough so that I can't ask Mr. Norquist a question. You know, Bob Dole refers to this tax increase that Bill Clinton waged on rich Americans. Now, I remember when that tax came down, Republicans in your crowd were saying the sky's falling, we're going to be in a recession. Well, truth is we've had a wonderful expansion. My guess is most of those rich people who were taxed are worth a lot more today. Do you ever get tired, Grover, of apologizing for rich people?
When everybody who buys gasoline in the country and had his gasoline taxes raised by Bill Clinton is denounced as rich, then I think we're quite right to stand with those people. When everyone who buys something at a store had their taxes increased by Bill Clinton's tax increases, certainly. Bill Clinton is always going to attack the rich and tax the middle class. He has rhetoric one way, but his taxes hurt average Americans, and the job creation and the growth out of this economy is half what Reagan had when he had taxes.
Mr. Norquist, you guys are so good at getting off of talking about rich people who you love to defend and putting over middle class. You name me, you cite me one example of a gas tax increase, or where it is in the tax when you go into a grocery store that you can lay on Bill Clinton. Just give me one example of it.
The 1993 tax increase.
Did not increase the price on food?
Increased gasoline taxes.
Well, you said food, Mr. Norquist.
No, but whenever you go into a store, you end up paying the taxes that Bill Clinton raised on so-called on businesses.
Well, bad throat or not, you've made my point. You're dodging. Rich people paid and they should pay.
Did you miss the gasoline?
I saw the gasoline. You're the one who said when you walked in the store.
The $400 person tax that he tried to put through on energy that all Americans use?
Okay, Mr. Norquist, I know I'm bleeding for these rich people. Go ahead.
Who drive cars and have jobs.
Let's get to the subject of the show. This is sort of an interesting little byproduct here, byplay. The 2/3 constitutional amendment that requires a supermajority in order to pass a tax increase. There's polling that shows Americans are overwhelmingly for this. And it's not just rich people. It's people at the lower end of the socioeconomic spectrum. It's not just Republicans. 71% of union members support this idea. How is it that all of these Americans are wrong, Mr. Shapiro, and you are right?
Everybody would like to pay lower taxes, and in particular, middle-income people and lower-income people whose income stagnated through the 1980s, when incidentally there were 7 increases in the payroll tax rate on middle-class people under Ronald Reagan, for example. And the gas tax,
and the gas tax, and the gas for your entitlement.
And the gas tax, in fact, was just extending a gas tax
So all these people are wrong.
in 1990.
Will you help us repeal that gas tax?
The point of the issue here, Lynn, is that this kind of restriction, this kind of fundamental change in the Constitution overturns the fundamental principle of majority rule, allows 1/3 of either house to protect Archer Daniel Midland's corporate tax subsidy.
Let me just ask you another question, because I think that you're not going really to the principle of it.
The Corporate Welfare Bailout Act.
Did you support Lonnie Guinier's nomination?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I'm an economist, Lynn, and
is that a yes or a no?
What does it have to do?
Well, it has to do with the fact that Lonnie Guinier was for supermajorities, and somehow I didn't hear you out there, Mr. Shapiro, when Lonnie Guinier was nominated. Oh, yes, she was.
Well, first of all, it really has nothing to do with that.
Absolutely does. If your principle is that this is undemocratic, then it was undemocratic when Lonnie Guinier proposed it.
The president thought so. The president thought so, in fact, and withdrew her nomination precisely because of that. So, in fact, the president, and we are standing for majority rule for democracy, the way James Madison thought it worked.
Could I, we've been with little cross-talk here. I know it's tax time, and Republicans get very antsy about this time when they have to pay their fair share. When you guys keep talking about percentages and polls, Lynn opened up with that, and then in your Americans for Tax Reform, you use polling data. Let me give you a piece of polling data off the same poll insights. 69% of the American people think rich people ought to pay more taxes. Now, if you want to go by polling data, I do too. So why not let the people pay, who, by the way, when you sat here and said, Ron, you said these tax increases were to pay for our entitlements, I beg your pardon, they were to pay for Ronald Reagan's $1 trillion military buildup that the rich people in this country supported. Therefore, they should pay it off, because that's the scourge of the deficit in this country.
Okay, I just have to interject. You mean the military buildup that let us win the Cold War?
Oh, that's ridiculous. I know. And
all right, Grover. It's Grover's
The
turn
Soviet Union never existed, was never a threat. Remember that.
That's right.
The left is always remembered.
And the Democrats always started the wars. I remember that when that idiotic comment by Bob Dole. But go ahead.
Okay. Two things on the taxes. First of all, when you get to the two-thirds supermajority, and we've done polling data which shows strong support across the country that was cited. There are 10 instances in the United States Constitution. We don't have to go to Lonnie Guinier to talk about supermajorities. 10 times the Constitution says two-thirds because we want to make it difficult to do certain things. We want to make sure there's a broad agreement, not just 51%. The whole Bill of Rights is about things that you can't do at all, never mind with two-thirds or four-fifths. Constitutions are to limit politicians and limit Congress and the president in what they can do. So the question here is, do you want to make it more difficult to have an overall net tax increase? And the answer is yes for Joe Barton and the Republicans who are pushing this.
Okay, well, Grover, let me ask you this question then. According to those of you who want to cut capital gains, that will raise a lot of revenue, tax revenue to the federal government. Now, if that's the case, you're going to need two-thirds majority to lower capital gains. I'm all for that. If you're for that, I'm for the rest of it.
What a red herring.
No, it's not a red herring. Actually, red herrings. The rich argument's the red herring. Go ahead.
Actually, it won't. And what we ought to be doing is to abolish the capital gains tax in the hope of reducing the amount of money that comes.
Why should you abolish the capital gains tax on a majority, but not allow people to raise money on wealthy people to take care of those at the bottom end of the spectrum by a two-thirds majority? What's fair about that?
If you think the last 40 years has been taxing the rich and helping people on welfare, I think you ought to walk around this city and take a look at what your politics have done to welfare recipients.
Okay.
I think you've destroyed more lives than have been helped.
You never have answered my question. How is it that the vast majority of Americans are wrong on this issue, that it ought to be harder to raise taxes, and you're right?
Well, because, Lynn, that's not what I think that's not how they're responding. I think what all Americans are responding, Lynn, and I'll say it slowly so you can follow it, what all Americans are responding is they want to pay lower taxes.
No. The question is very direct.
Of course they want to pay lower taxes.
The question is very direct. Ask if they would like to have the tax issues decided by a two-thirds majority in the House and the Senate. 71% of union members, 80% of Republicans. It's an amazing number.
We don't write the Constitution by today's polls. And I'm certain if you polled it on another way and asked the question in a slightly different way, as we always find, you would get a different result.
Well,
if we are, then For many years, the polls have supported, have found that the majority of Americans support not only higher taxes on wealthy people, but higher taxes on business. Are we to legislate higher taxes on wealthy people and higher taxes on business because somebody can produce a poll?
Let me
I don't
just,
think so.
let me ask you a question, Mr. Shapiro, and I will speak real slowly for you.
I really think the Constitution is a lot more serious.
Don't you think that the majority of Americans have had recent experience that makes them think it should be harder to raise our taxes? Many of the recent tax increases have been passed by a bare majority, and if there is a real and pressing need for the government to have more revenue, shouldn't it require bipartisan support, as this measure would?
Well, it's not only more revenue for middle-class people. This would stop Congress or stop a majority from unpeeling a host of corporate tax subsidies for influential interests like Archer Daniel. Oh, yes, it would. Oh, yes, it would.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the red herring of Republicans using taxes again and again in another election. Will they be successful? We'll see.
The issue is fleet safety. Liberty Mutual is the only insurer to operate its own driver-trainer facility, where one customer learned new ways to drive down accidents by 70%. Can your company use a crash course? Liberty Mutual, facing the issues that face our customers.
A few seconds in Greece made you relax. Imagine what a few days would do. Meanwhile, here's another story. Greece, a never-ending story. You turn a dial, and the numbers crunch, and the cubes crush, and the ink dries, and the word spreads, and the question is raised, and the answer is found, and the picture talks, and the doctor sees, and the speaker sings, and the plant hums, and the engine glides, and the blades fly, and the sky clears.
For people, for the economy, for the planet. Electricity, the power to make life better.
And the day is done, and the two are one, and the cares all slip away.
At Everin Securities, our investment professionals not only go the extra mile for you, they jump through hoops. Everin employees are owners with a vested interest in your success.
Tonight on CNN Presents. For those who survived the Oklahoma City bombing, the struggle to recover has been both difficult and inspiring. Meet them on the next CNN Presents, tonight 9 Eastern.
Welcome back to Crossfire Sunday. Tomorrow, millions of Americans will file their tax returns, and Republicans in Congress are taking advantage of this least favorite American pastime to push a plan that would require a two-thirds vote of Congress to raise any new tax. Democrats call the two-thirds amendment a backdoor way to gut the federal government. To talk about the politics of taxes, our guests tonight are Rob Shapiro of the Progressive Policy Institute and Grover Norquist of Americans for Tax Reform. Mr. Shapiro, let me just review a little recent history. 4 years ago, you remember, Bill Clinton was promising a middle-class tax cut. As soon as he won the nomination, he wasn't promising a middle-class tax cut. We're now into the 4th year of his presidency. We haven't seen a middle-class tax cut, but he's starting to talk about it again. I think maybe it takes a lot of nerve for liberals to say that Republicans are using the tax issue for political purpose, since this is so clearly what Bill Clinton has done.
You know, one of the problems, Lynn, is that everybody, both parties, both sides, use taxes for political purposes. And one of the reasons, I think, is that it's so hard to figure out a way to get average people's incomes moving again. The president has an approach for that. It involves education and training and investments in infrastructure and basic research. That makes sense to me. The Republicans seem to say the tax cuts is the answer. I don't know any economics that says that, but I think you're right, that in fact both sides use it for political purposes. We ought to stop talking about these ridiculous proposals like changing the Constitution to a 2/3 majority for tax increases and focus on what the American people want us to focus on, which is making the investments and the reforms necessary to restore mass upward mobility once again.
Grover Norquist, before we went to the break, I didn't have a chance to respond. I've calmed down a little bit. But when I heard you say there are entitlements, there are welfare programs, Bob Dole says there are wars. I know you mean the left and liberals. The last time I checked, a lot of conservative Republicans were drawing entitlements. They liked their COLAs, even those rich old ladies collecting taxes on bond income in Florida shouldn't be getting it. When you all start talking about us in class warfare, you better be careful before you start laying entitlements on us. The Republicans and the right haven't had the guts to take it up.
Where's the question?
Well, the question is, I'm just responding. I mean, when I'm said it's my entitlement, it is not my entitlement.
Fair enough question. I think the Republicans did take on welfare reform. They passed a welfare reform package that sends welfare out to the states so that states don't have to come begging to Washington to take a look at different approaches to welfare. And Bill Clinton vetoed that. It's exactly the kind of welfare reform that he once said he would support. Same thing with Medicaid, sending it out to the states and making those kind of reforms. The Republicans, when they came into office, actually did, with the Contract America, what they said they'd do in reforming welfare, reforming Medicaid, giving a $500 per child tax credit.
Mr. Norquist, wait 1 second. I know it's real tough politics to pick on poor kids, but let me ask you this. If the Republicans are so strong and have such a strong contract, why don't the Republicans offer up cutting cost of living increases for wealthy Social Security recipients? That takes guts, because they got a lobby. What doesn't take guts are little black kids being thrown off of welfare. So how about that? That's a big part of the deficit, is entitlements. You said it yourself. Where's the courage of the right to take on entitlement holders who have a lot of money?
Let me make it clear that you may think that welfare is successful. I would argue that you
would you answer my question about entitlements? You don't. Would you stop talking and answer my question about entitlements? You guys told us you don't have the courage to raise Social Security taxes or cut COLAs, do you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I'm not in favor of raising anybody's taxes, and we just successfully, after 40 years, eliminated the effort where the federal government now, if you work and make more than $9,000 a year, Bill Clinton
you're willing to throw people off of welfare. You're willing to throw people off of welfare.
Somebody who's 65 years old and wants to earn a living shouldn't have his money taken away from him, which is what the Republicans just passed.
And a little black kid who wants to eat shouldn't be thrown off of welfare.
No, he should have choice in education in this city, which the Republicans forced.
Shapiro,
you guys are prostituting
Teacher
for the
unions
rich.
won't let you give black kids
Get out of
in
here.
this city a chance at an education. And you're saying all right because it's true, Bob Shapiro, and you know it.
And it is true, but let me get back to taxes for a minute, Mr. Shapiro. Lose your voice, Bob. And let's review a little more recent history. We talked about Clinton's record of not offering a middle-class tax cut, and in fact, Bob Dole...
He did offer it this year.
He has offered a phantom version after...
No, it's not a phantom version, and he did offer it in fact, in 1995 as part of the budget.
But please, let me finish reviewing the history, which is that Bill Clinton vetoed a bill that would have given Americans a $500 tax credit for each child. Amounts to $265 billion. Not only did he not deliver on the middle-class tax cut, he has raised taxes. I mean, it is an amazing thing. And, Bob, you think his tax increase is okay.
I thought it was
Well, no, but I just have to make this point. Even the president doesn't like it. Even the president has said too much.
Lynn, you have to tell people that tax cut was part of a bill that also made very, very deep cuts in Medicare and Medicaid, which the American people did not support, and cuts in education.
No cuts.
And yes,
no cuts.
Yes, cuts.
They reduced the rate of increase.
Reduced the rate of increase. Reduced the rate of increase to such a degree that the services provided today could not still be provided.
Mr. Norquist, this year, as I understand it, I'm going back to taxes now, and I'll try to get my voice back. There are more, leaving aside the interest on the national debt, there are more revenues coming into the federal government this year than expenditures going out. That happened under Bill Clinton's watch. It never happened under Ronald Reagan. It never happened under George Bush. One thing that did happen under Ronald Reagan, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will, Ronald Reagan, in gross increases in taxes, raised more taxes than Bill Clinton ever dreamed of.
Oh, much more.
Well, that's
true. Is that right? Am I right?
The point that Ronald Reagan
Reagan
signed measures passed by Congress.
Right. Come on. Ronald Reagan's the largest tax increase in history. Well, you won't answer my questions. I mean, I'd love it if you'd answer my questions.
The question and the point that the Republicans have been trying to make for 10 years was that presidents have a very hard time keeping spending down if Congress wants to spend too much. We now have a Congress that wants to reduce spending, and they're actually doing what they said. If Bob Dole is elected president, and we have a president who will sign budget restraint and sign a balanced budget and support a balanced budget amendment rather than fight it,
can I try one? Can I try just one more time? Yes or no? Can I ask you just one more time? Yes or no? Take pity on a bad throat.
Got it.
If you add all the tax increases that Ronald Reagan signed into law, is he not a much bigger tax increaser than Bill Clinton?
Not if you add in the tax cuts.
No, I'm asking about tax increases. Would you answer that question?
But that would be a dishonest answer.
Why is it dishonest? He raised taxes. This great, wonderful Ronald Reagan of your people. He's a tax raiser.
If I could subtract anything from the taxes Bill Clinton has raised, I would be very happy about it. You should subtract. If Bill Clinton would cut my taxes, I'd be happy to shut up about $245 billion.
I'm sure you would, Lynn, but
because that's what he's raised our taxes.
Well, he's raised your taxes. He raised taxes on the top
car.
On the top 2%. Let's talk about the gas tax.
Let's talk about Bill Clinton's tax.
In fact, that gas tax was simply extending a gas tax passed under George Bush, and today the real cost of gasoline with that tax is lower than it has been at any time since 1960.
Well, you know, this is so fraudulent. Bill Clinton wanted to put a BTU tax on that would have raised everybody's energy prices to the sky. But no, I saw the question here. I want to review a little more of this recent history. You remember that Bill Clinton bragged about how little he had raised taxes in Arkansas. And everyone was impressed with that. The reason he had raised taxes so little was because in Arkansas, you need more than a majority to pass a tax increase. In many states, you need more than a majority. Why can't the federal government be as smart as the states?
Because the federal government is as smart as James Madison and Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin and Alexander Hamilton and George Washington made it, who said majorities should rule in the country and minorities should not be able to stop should not be able to stop the efforts of the majority, for example, to take away tax breaks for large corporations.
The two largest tax increases in deficit produced in the history of this country were George Bush and Ronald Reagan. Will you all be willing, at least getting their supporters, is there any case to be made for paying off the Reagan-Bush deficits with increased taxes? How are you going to do it? You're going to wish it away?
No, we need to reduce spending. What Ronald Reagan didn't have and what George Bush didn't have was a Congress led by Ronald Reagan and Bob Dole that want to reduce the size of government. They faced
We had a Senate led by Bob Dole, as a matter of fact. Bob Dole, as a matter of fact. And
Bob Dole,
we have to quit on this contentious note. Thank you very much, Mr. Shapiro from the Progressive Policy Institute. Thank you very much, Grover Norquist from Americans for Tax Reform. Bob and I will be back in a minute, and we are going to decide whether your taxes will be lower under President Dole or under President Clinton. Thanks.
As the sun rises all around the globe, it brings a new day. One with new possibilities in the world of finance that never existed before. Because now, there's a new company. One that believes that every client is unique, as is every solution. If that hadn't already been our strength, we would never have become who we are today. A new company called Chase. Good morning.
You know the best way from Terminal A to D in Frankfurt. You know not to plan a business meeting in Rome on August 15th. Everyone's on vacation. You know the fastest calculator in Osaka doesn't need batteries. And now you know the best way to fax virtually anywhere in the world from your business or home office. Only MCI One Fax assures you you'll never have to resend a fax or pay for incomplete transmissions. MCI World, for citizens of the world.
What would happen if one of the world's great luxury car makers came together with one of the world's finest leather goods companies? Introducing the Lexus Limited ES300 Coach Edition. It begs the question, is the world becoming more luxurious? Or does this car only make it seem so? The ES300 Coach Edition.
At BASF, we don't make the skates.
we make them ride smoother. We don't make the car, we make it more colorful. We don't make the shampoo, we make it gentler. We don't make the helmet, we make it more comfortable. At BASF, we don't make a lot of the products you buy, we make a lot of the products you buy better. BASF.
Crossfire Sunday continues in a moment. For a transcript of this and many other CNN programs, call Journal Graphics at 1-800-CNN News. Bob Beckel, Lynn Cheney, and Crossfire Sunday will be right back.
Ann's one of my clients. She likes to hear details and specifics, hates getting summaries. Has finally learned how to leave the office at the office. Believes in buying stocks for the long term. Misses her kids, but not enough to want them to move back home. Knowing Ann the way I do helps me know which investments make sense for her.
We're in for a hot summer. Very soft but sweet, no mercy from the heat.
When onion skins are thin, weather's warm coming in. Flies come in for shelter. Summer days will swelter.
No matter the forecast, for years, folks have trusted their heating and cooling to the company founded by Dave Lennox.
I always say it's best to be prepared.
Because, like Lennox dealers today, Dave provided the best in home comfort,
That didn't rhyme.
if not poetry. Lennox, one less thing to worry about.
Monday night on Larry King Live, Manuel Noriega was once the ultimate power in Panama. Now he's serving a 40-year sentence in a U.S. penitentiary. An exclusive interview with Manuel Noriega, Monday night on Larry King Live, 9 Eastern on CNN.
For a multimedia look at today's news, check out CNN Interactive on the World Wide Web at CNN.com. You can access our site through the AT&T Business Network.
Okay, Bob, let's look at the objective evidence. The Republicans are trying to make it harder to raise taxes in the Congress. Bob Dole has signed a pledge saying he won't raise taxes. Bill Clinton has made a lot of pledges, all of which he's broken, about raising taxes and pledges about lowering them, which he hasn't kept. The evidence is clear. If Dole is our president, the taxes of all our viewers will be lower.
Well, let me just say, first of all, thanks for coming from my cold tonight, but I can't let you get away with that. Under Reagan and Bush, taxes went up. Why do we think it's going to be any different under another Republican president? Bill Clinton's done a very good job. He's in a very strong position, and people are not going to trust Dole on this. I really don't believe that.
I mean, when you've got a president who says himself personally, oh, I think I raised your taxes too much, to a bunch of fat cats in Houston, you've got a credibility problem, Bob.
Fat cats in Houston. Well, that ain't me. From the left, I'm Bob Beckel. Good night for Crossfire Sunday.
And from the right, I'm Lynn Cheney. Join us again tomorrow night for another edition of Crossfire, same time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
Tonight, for those who survived the Oklahoma City bombing, the struggle to recover has been both difficult and inspiring. Meet them on the next CNN Presents tonight.
The San Antonio Spurs return to the Rose Garden Monday, April 15th. And Blazer Vision is your ticket to all the action. Call TCI's instant order line at 1-800-497-7788. The Blazers and Spurs from the Rose Garden.
97.1 Kissin' FM, playing songs that make you feel good. Turn on the oldies and turn up the fun. 97.1 Kissin' FM.
So what's it gonna... Hey, it's you!
Howser.
I'm a big fan.
Really?
Yeah, I just love your Diamond Minute race.
Oh, well, actually, that's Fred's Diamond Minute race.
Don't be so modest. It's great.
And it's good forever. You know how I count out my tips now? I take the dimes and I go 1 minute, 2 minutes.
That's nice. I'll have the soup.
Hey, Rocco, look at It's the dime lady!
Oh, boy. Sprint's really started something.
Call now and get 10 cents a minute across the U.S. and now even to Canada.
The American entrepreneurial spirit is the heart and soul of our free enterprise system, giving energy and vitality to every business. Shiloh Inns, like all other businesses, has the freedom to participate in the American dream. So the next time you're traveling for business or pleasure across America's western states, come discover why we're so proud to be part of the American dream. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence.
This is CNN.
Israel zeroes in on guerrilla strongholds in Beirut, while Hezbollah vows to turn the Jewish state into a fiery hell.
Thousands gather in the streets of San Francisco to send a message to Washington.
A suspected serial bomber, militant militia groups, and lots of places to get lost. Is Big Sky Country getting a bad name? Hello and welcome to The World Today. I'm Martin Savage in Atlanta.
And I'm Jean Meserve in Washington. Israel's four-day blitz against the guerrilla group Hezbollah is taking more lives, at least 22 so far, and it is creating an escalating refugee crisis for Lebanon. Hezbollah peppered northern Israel with rocket volleys every 20 minutes for part of Sunday. One crashed into an empty school. At the same time, Israel's assault on Hezbollah bases went on unabated. Attacks stretched from the southern Lebanese border north to Beirut. 400,000 people, half the population of southern Lebanon, are streaming north to escape the onslaught. CNN's Brent Sadler reports from Tyre, Lebanon.
Clear skies over Tyre in southern Lebanon, the Israeli offensive widening into a more serious dimension. There were airstrikes on villages just south of Tyre, joined by the constant activity of helicopter gunships, their pilots discharging a stream of anti-missile flares to avoid being shot down. The battle with Hezbollah is now being waged by land, by air, and at sea, the Israeli Navy playing its part in the campaign. More attacks on Beirut shook the southern suburbs of the city, home to Hezbollah's leadership. The capital was hit by a greater number of raids than before. The Israelis are not only punishing the guerrillas for the rocket attacks on Israel, but also the Lebanese government for letting it happen, aiming to damage the country's infrastructure. The previous night, Beirut echoed to the sound of anti-aircraft fire. Tracer bullets piercing the night sky. The atmosphere of tension and panic is growing. A crush of terrified men, women, and children were evacuating themselves from Israel's blitz. The coastal highway from Tyre to Beirut was jammed with a stream of vehicles, Lebanese families seeking safety and shelter. The Israelis are terrifying us, screamed this man. God help us, we've got to escape. We're going to Beirut, says this woman. Israel told us to leave our homes and we've got to go. With an Israeli-imposed deadline to clear the area, tens of thousands of people took to the road. In Tyre Hospital, the ones fortunate enough to survive the bombardment awaited treatment or evacuation. The dead, including children who were killed in a rocket attack on an ambulance, remain in the morgue. It's too unsafe to bury them. Israel says its mission is to destroy Hezbollah targets, not to harm civilians, warning them to steer clear of the guerrillas. But there's no doubt that if non-combatants do get in the way of the fighting, they're likely to lose not only their homes, but also their lives. Brent Sadler, CNN, Tyre, southern Lebanon.
Hezbollah vows to turn northern Israel into, quote, a fiery hell. Hezbollah television is showing video of Hezbollah volunteers with explosives strapped to their bodies. The group promises a wave of suicide bombers to attack Israeli targets and avenge the Israeli offensive. 4 suicide bombings in February and March left 59 people dead in Israel. The occupied Arab territories and the current intense fighting in Lebanon will take the lion's share of attention at the United Nations Monday. On Sunday, key diplomats from Israel and Lebanon butted heads over what it would take to bring hostilities to an end.
We hope that it doesn't have to take very long and that suffering on both sides of the border can be brought to an end soon. but the end is very clear. There has to be a complete end to Hezbollah attacks.
We think that the only solution is a political solution, and it will come by respect of both sides, respect of the 1993 American brokered agreement.
France is calling for a ceasefire in South Lebanon and sent its foreign minister to the region. Syria, meantime, is urging the U.S. to stay out of the conflict or run the risk of losing its role as mediator. The Clinton administration is blaming Hezbollah for provoking Israeli military action in Lebanon.
In a few hours, President Clinton leaves Washington for Asia. He will make a brief stop in South Korea, travel to Japan for 3 days of security talks, then on to Russia for a nuclear safety summit. Defense Secretary William Perry is already in Japan. He says the U.S. will give back a fifth of the land it controls on Okinawa, but will not significantly cut the number of U.S. troops stationed there.
The search of Unabomber suspect Theodore Kaczynski's cabin may soon be over. The FBI search warrant expires Monday, although a judge has ordered the cabin sealed for another 30 days. Federal authorities say their search has uncovered evidence that links Kaczynski to the Unabomber crimes. CNN takes an in-depth look at Theodore Kaczynski in a special report that airs Monday at 8 a.m., 11 p.m., and 2 p.m. Eastern.
The Montana Freemen have held defiant in the 21-day standoff with federal agents, but now there are hints the anti-government group may be ready for an end to it. CNN's Susan Candiotti has the latest in this report.
The Freemen's message appears handwritten on a big white board. In bold letters it reads, "Grand jury, it's the law. Why not? Who fears the evidence?" Like their daily walks on the property, to and from about 10 homes scattered across 960 acres, their message has not changed. The Freemen demand a grand jury of their choosing. A common law grand jury, they insist, will clear them of charges that they've written phony checks to the tune of almost $20 million. 3 weeks into the standoff, 5 people have been arrested, including alleged ringleaders Leroy Schweitzer and Daniel Peterson. 2 others, a mother and son, surrendered last week after relatives talked them out. For now, the FBI seems willing to play a waiting game.
I think it's, again, an example of where you get criticized for not doing too much or criticized for doing too much. We've got to make our judgments based on what's happening at the scene without regard to pressures from outside, but with using what we know at the scene, what we have learned working with others at the scene to resolve the matter peacefully.
A number of the 100 FBI agents who've been in the area since the operation began have gone home. Rotated in are fresh faces, now manning roadblocks and conducting surveillance. Another sign that authorities are digging in, generators to power lights, making it easier for agents to check local traffic at night. Country roads that can be treacherous. On Sunday, an FBI agent was killed when he lost control of his car on a gravel road leading to the ranch. Another development to watch in the coming days, whether state mediators can revive talks with the free men, talks which broke off last week. Susan Candiotti, CNN, Brusette, Montana.
And coming up on Prime News, the Unabomber suspect, the Freemen, the militias.
Is the big sky country big on extremism? We'll talk to Montanans about how their state is being portrayed in light of recent events.
Americans may grimace, but the cutoff for filing 1995 tax returns is now just over 24 hours away, and counting.
And hundreds of liberal groups rally with a message to the conservative political establishment. Watch your left flank. Liberalism is back. Stay with us.
Our distribution costs are up again, way up. We need some smart answers now.
Maybe we need someone to start asking the right questions.
It's time to call Ruan, the transportation management professionals. Ruan works to learn your business, find the source of your distribution problems, and recommend solutions to reduce costs. Start asking the right questions. Call for your free Right Questions kit today. Ruan, improving quality through knowledge.
If your office equipment ever breaks down, no matter where you are in the business world, remember, nobody responds like Danka.
Welcome, my son.
Hello, Dolly.
Everyone wants to know the facts of life. But look at the jam I'm in.
I can fix that.
Only Danka offers copiers, fax machines, and digital systems with its world-class commitment to service.
You're wise beyond your years, Danka man.
So what is the true meaning of life?
Leave your number. I will fax you.
Danka. World-class products, world-class service.
That's right, my friend. Giant man-eating goldfish.
Sorry, darling, it looks like sushi again tonight.
My first objective is coal and electricity, the key to energy. Next, the cities. Cities mean buildings, and buildings mean bricks and cranes. Then roads and highways. To build them, I need asphalt, concrete, and aggregates. Finally, trash will answer to me, because I will own the plastic to make the garbage bags.
Sorry, old boy, the people I work for have beaten you to it.
What? The Secret Service?
At my age. Don't be silly.
Well, who then?
Why, Hanson, of course.
Huh? Hanson?
What do you suppose is eating him?
Well, it is almost crunch time for taxpayers, at least the Americans ones, because the filing date is rapidly approaching. If you're waiting until the last minute, cheer up. You're not alone. The IRS estimates that 30% of all taxpayers wait until the last minute, or that is, at least the last 2 weeks to file. And according to a CNN USA Today Gallup poll, most Americans aren't happy with their tax bill. 64% say it's too high, 33% say it's about right, 1% say it's too low. Complaints about taxes, though, are nothing new. As far back as 1948, the first year of the poll's question, most Americans thought their taxes were too much.
One day before Congress returns from its 2-week recess, Democrats are renewing their call to raise the minimum wage. Labor Secretary Robert Reich today challenged Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole to use his power to push through a wage increase this week. The proposal has drawn criticism from some business leaders, but Democrats say it is time to make the minimum wage a living wage.
We've got to reward people who want to work. You cannot raise a family on $4.25 an hour in this country today. And it's an outrage that it's been 5 years. The minimum wage is almost at a 40-year low, and we've got 12 million people who fall into this category.
The Secretary of Labor himself says most people who get the minimum wage are not on poverty. The way you deal with poverty is you give them skills, and one of the other ways you help is you expand growth. And this notion that this small increase in the minimum wage is going to solve our poverty problem is silly.
Democrats want to raise the minimum wage 90 cents over 2 years from $4.25 to $5.15 an hour. The Republicans may be controlling the agenda on Capitol Hill, but they apparently have not stomped out the liberal spirit of many Americans. Thousands of people turned out in San Francisco today to show support for affirmative action, gay rights, and other liberal issues. CNN's Susan Reed reports.
Fight the Right, the rallying cry as over 650 different organizations joined together, determined to let conservative politicians in Washington know liberal attitudes are still alive.
Liberals become such a dirty word in America that liberals have kind of gone into the closet.
I grew up in the San Joaquin Valley, the daughter of a bricklayer and a farm worker. And without affirmative action, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to UC Berkeley and UCLA Law School.
The march organized by the National Organization for Women.
We want to show the politicians, but more importantly, show ourselves that we do have the strength to turn the radical right wing, the religious political extremists, around, to put them out of office.
Ireland was joined by Jesse Jackson of the Rainbow Coalition and Dolores Huerta, a founder of the United Farm Workers, in a show of unity to fight the California Civil Rights Initiative, which, if passed, would effectively end affirmative action in California.
We're going to turn the clock back to all of the rights that have been gave by women for the last 30 years.
The attacks on affirmative inclusion are full scale. Affirmative action is not a black issue, a minority issue. It's a majority issue.
But the show of unity was not without controversy. The California NAACP reportedly refused to back the march because of anti-O.J. Simpson comments made by a now official in Los Angeles. But Northern California NAACP officials attended the march And some black marchers found the NAACP protest irrelevant.
We feel that there are much larger issues than the OJ trial. And the comment of one unfortunate comment from someone in Now is solidly behind the movement for social justice.
And there was another protest from ACT UP. The Los Angeles chapter tried to disrupt the rally, upset that a woman with AIDS was not allowed to address the crowd.
Perhaps most significantly, the march is a change in direction for the National Organization for Women. With a string of abortion victories behind them, they can now turn their attention to what they call extremist views on a wide range of issues.
And in rallies like this, attempt to provide support for politicians who vote the liberal agenda. Susan Reed, CNN, San Francisco.
Still to come in our Tomorrow Today segment. Can a marriage between music and computers be harmonious? When Prime News continues, we'll show you what music sounds like when it merges with a megabyte.
With nearly $1 billion in sales, America Online is the success of the decade. With $1 trillion in real estate transactions, the Century 21 system is the success of the century, the #1 real estate company. And when you're this big, you can do things others can't, like average a home bought or sold by our customers every minute, every day. The Century 21 system can sell your home fast, maybe this minute, so don't waste a second. Call #1, Century 21.
So, how's everyone's day? Great. Oh, Debbie, how's the cheerleading going? You're kidding me. What was that, honey?
Residence Inn is the next best thing to home.
Well, if you say so.
But it's not home. What? That's why it's a good idea to use the AT&T True Choice calling card. It's an easy way to stay in touch with your family.
Did I mention how great you look tonight?
Call soon, okay? Residence Inn by Marriott. The next best thing to home.
If you passionately believe in what you're doing, you can achieve almost anything in life. We can have an idea in the bath in the morning and have it up and working by the afternoon. We like to think of Virgin as a flexible company, and I think American Express is very flexible as well. You can use the card to buy a CD, or you can use it to go off on a travel around the world.
It beat Acura, BMW, and Infiniti. Mercedes and Lexus were both left behind. Motor Trend named the Mazda Millennia #1 in its class. Millennia. Leases start at $0 down, $349 a month, 24 months.
Passion for the road.
If it seems like you've been paying more at the pump lately, you probably have. Gasoline prices jumped an average of 7 cents a gallon nationwide over the last 3 weeks. That's according to the Lundberg survey of 10,000 gasoline stations. Analysts blame a dramatic rise in international crude oil prices. In the West, prices have gone up 9 cents since March 22nd. In the Midwest, prices were up 5 to 6 cents per gallon. Some more rough weather in parts of the U.S. Here's Ted Texter with the details. Ted.
Gene, we've been waiting for spring, and it is coming now to the Gulf Coast region, farther northward up to the mid-Mississippi River Valley. Look at the clouds as they blow up in the past few hours. Really intense. Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, all the way on up to Missouri, in fact. And the radar will confirm it. There's some very, very heavy weather. Look for the brighter colors, the reds, the yellows. That indicates the heavier storms. Now pushing on into Alabama, westernmost sections. We've had twisters through central sections primarily of Mississippi, but farther northward up into Missouri, south and western sections primarily, a new line moving through there. Reports of some very heavy weather, some damage through the south and the west as well on down through central parts of Mississippi. We plot the watch boxes for you now, all of them tornado watches that take us up to the 2 o'clock in the morning hour in the central time zone. Some very heavy to severe weather, still a possibility, high winds, hail, quite a bit of rain with these impossible twisters. At the same time, well to the north, kind of a wintry mess here, the same big storm system, but snow showers, some mix on the fringe of it. We'll look for that snow to push into the Great Lakes region. North and eastern United States still hanging on in New England, some snow there. And out west, not looking too bad. Well, overall, into the morning time, everything pushes just a little bit farther to the east. There's the big front. Cooler, drier air spilling in behind that cold front. Abundant moisture supply ahead of it. That's the reason for the storms, and quite a bit of support aloft in the atmosphere. It all sucks it up in the atmosphere and gets the storms going. Rain showers turn to snow as you get into the colder air in the morning time, and we expect it will be cool north and central United States up into Ontario, south and east ahead of the front, still very mild. South and west, mild air is in the forecast there too. Rain moving into the west coast. Detailed forecast for your Monday now. Stay right here. We'll watch the weather through the night and keep you posted. Martin?
Thank you, Ted. Well, it was a rare moment of perfect harmony. From the U.S. Capitol to California, 500 organists simultaneously played the same song. The opening notes of Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor sounded from churches, cathedrals, synagogues, and concert halls all over North America. Billed as the world's largest organ recital, it marks the 100th anniversary of the American Guild of Organists. Kind of neat.
Computers are credited with everything these days. Why not a revolution in the field of music?
Some say a high-tech harmony is creating a new art form. In this Tomorrow Today report, CNN's David George shows how the musician and the technician are joining in an electronic jam session.
There are conventional sounds of music from the concert band. More acoustically challenging sounds from Bill Trimble's saxophone. Whatever the sound at San Jose State, you can be sure there's a computer not far away.
It's difficult today to be an active composer, music producer, be it commercial, non-commercial, without using current technology, without using the computer.
Thanks to a computer, Bill Trimble essentially plays a duet with himself. In this piece, he calls Final Register. Trimble improvises, while in the background, speakers pump out a CD version of the same music, recorded and reworked by colleague Dan Wyman.
Together, all at once, all saxophones, all Bill. But there are sounds in there that take apart just the tiniest elements of Bill's sound. And that's only available through computer manipulation.
And then there's the sound. Electronic music's like any other music. You either get it or you don't.
I have to say it, there is a spot in that composition where the mouthpiece comes off. And the sound is the wailing of spirits and the howling of cats and the sound a small boy makes when he's blowing through a garden hose.
Isn't that fun?
Is that what it is? It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. That's where music comes from. Is having fun, being a child again in a way, writing your own rules.
In the future, maybe it'll be a matter of rewriting the rules electronically. David George, CNN, San Jose, California.
Tomorrow Today appears on CNN's Future Watch and Science and Technology Week. Brought to you by IBM. Solutions for a small planet.
Candela, ti parlan come si.
Ogni giorno la rete globale di computer.
Pošperaj po dalekej starej bibliotece.
Gerðu litlu búin á safarins að smá fjölþjóðafyrirtæki.
Kurios?
L'IBM Warehouse.
Just plug in.
Come si udie uomo.
Sooner or later, chances are you'll find yourself looking for a home out of town. Moving, vacationing, planning for retirement. Whatever your reasons, Better Homes and Gardens can help you get there with our free Homes Guidebook. It's filled with full-color photos of properties across the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico, so you can compare prices across town and around the country. Compliments of the one company that'll be there wherever your travels take you. Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Service. Call us, 1-800-301-FREE.
I know what I like and don't like. I don't like irregularity. It slows me down. I don't like harsh chemical laxatives. I like natural. I like Metamucil natural fiber therapy. It won't artificially stimulate your insides with harsh chemicals. I don't like those. Mixes easy, goes down easy. A safe and easy way to get the extra fiber I need. And it works just the way I expect from Metamucil, to get the body up and running. I like that.
Metamucil, the natural choice for regularity.
CNN Sports Sunday is coming up next for viewers in the U.S. Mike Alanis is here with a preview. Mike?
Thank you, Martin. It was supposed to be the defining 18 holes of golf for Greg Norman. Final round of the Masters, he had a 6-shot lead. The Sharks sinking a bit. Nick Faldo turning up the heat on his heels. We will have all the highlights. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls go for a piece of history. In hockey, the Pens and Flyers decide who's going to be the best in the East and have home ice advantage through the playoffs. And in baseball, John Smoltz flirting with a no-hitter. Join Paul Crane and me for Sports Sunday. That's coming up next for our U.S. and Canadian audiences. Martin, Gene.
Mike, thanks. Montana is a vast state accustomed to little attention.
But lately, the spotlight has been glaring on Montana, and as CNN's John Holloman reports, not everyone there likes the heat.
Until this month, when you thought of Montana, you probably thought of big sky country, where rolling plains were interrupted by wheat fields and occasional cattle or sheep ranch. Not many people, but plenty of space. But the capture of the Unabomber suspect in the western part of the state and the continuing standoff between FBI agents and anti-government freemen on the wheat farm in eastern Montana has brought this place to the center of the world's attention. The governor says the world is getting the wrong impression.
These are such isolated events that I'm absolutely convinced that Americans and Montanans have an overwhelming amount of good sense, and they also have an ability with honest purpose to figure out which things are important and which things are unusual phenomena that no one could predict and no one can account for.
To the people who live in Montana, the reputation the state is getting is just a little weird, and it comes from outside.
We get the imports come up here, and they see that, hey, nobody pays any attention to what you're doing. We're not going to stick our nose in your business. So I think they like to settle down in a place like that.
A university official is getting worried phone calls from parents.
And saying, is it safe to come to Montana to go to school? And absolutely. Montana is a very, very big state.
To young farmers who make up most of Montana's workforce, there's hope the bad reputation Montana is getting will pass.
Kind of surprised it's kind of been blown up to this big a level, but I'm not totally surprised that it has happened. I hope they can get it resolved.
Jordan, Montana is the dateline for the stories about the Freeman. Most of its 500 residents are related to someone inside the compound or to the local government officials threatened by the Freeman in the past. More than 200 people have signed the guest book for journalists here at this local bar and grill. That translates to about one news person for every 2 people who live in this tiny town. And the most popular item for sale at the local dry goods store is this T-shirt, which asks what is definitely the most popular question in town these days. John Holloman, CNN, Jordan, Montana.
And that's all for this edition of CNN's Prime News. I'm Jean Meserve in Washington.
And I'm Martin Savage in Atlanta. Thanks for joining us. Now stay tuned for Sports Sunday. Up next.